Yo, what's up, guys? So this is the world's Jankest 4K Zammy duo from the perspective of me basing. Shout out to my buddy Firetellos who really carried this duo, I would say. I'm not going to focus much on what he was doing as some of the stuff's a little bit too advanced for me. I'm also not that good with magic, ranged, or melee to really describe, point by point what he was doing. I'm going to go over what I wore, which I didn't go too crazy. I did go full Death Warden with my rope bottom having Invigorating 4, Mobile and Devoted 4 on it, the rope top just having Fighting 4, and then Soulbound Lantern and Omni Guard. On Soulbound Lantern, I had Precise 6 with Ruthless 1, Omni Guard, Aftershock 4, and Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer has obviously no impact over here at Zammy, but it's just what's on my Omni Guard, and then just regular Samurago's Nexus for the continued healing from the ghost. Other than that, stuff that you don't see, I had a Grimoire, and I was using Extended Aegis. I like to extend, even though the way it goes for me is usually if I don't get the kill on the first attempt, I'm not going to get it at all. So really, the Extended Aegis is pointless here. But it is what it is. And then Reaver's Ring with a Ring of Death switch in my inventory, and also Spirit Shield, and those really are only for P7. But yeah, I mean, you can see this is how it went on that phase 1 there, which was pad 2. I did take smoke. My buddy kind of let's just say insisted on taking smoke pretty much every single pad after the first phase, which normally the base takes all of that smoke, but appreciated, highly appreciated by me because it definitely helped me quite a bit. And also I did decide to switch up the pad order here just to see how it goes, just to make basically the last 3 phases easier. So we went 2, 4, 3, 6, 5, 1 instead of the usual 2, 4, 3, 1, 6, 5. That does mean you're going to take less damage on those last 3 pads, but P7 you will take more damage with the bomb. So yeah, as we're going here, again, we didn't really have a lot of communication outside of just messaging in game. We weren't in a voice chat or anything. We had attempted it a couple times already, unsuccessfully of course, and every single time we did it, we didn't really use up our full auras because we were kind of just mentally drained. So I would say this was technically our first attempt of the 4th hour that we had tried, and over the course of like a week, but realistically this was maybe like 3.5 hours into attempts. There you could see him taking the smoke, which clears me up for doing some damage, and since he's so cracked, he only has 2 pieces of food, so he really does need those res heals. Really important here is that whenever you do get sent into Infernus, that you are timing stun correctly. You want to anticipate that, and then soon as the rune hits you, that's when you want to stun. And of course you want to anticipate so you don't get stunned by getting hit by the rune from Zanrag. Defensives and prayer flicking key over here. Of course you can manage without it, but at 4K I would not advise just no prayer flicking whatsoever. Also, why it helps to charge pad 1 last, then twin shot isn't doing basically double. You're not getting 2 hits, so it's easier to prayer flick if you're not very good at it. There normally I would have taken out that witch if he decided to do that as well. I mean, again, I'm not going to question it just because he is significantly better at this than me. There's the anticipation done right after the rune and into Infernus to fight demons. Another big thing here is if you are soloing, you definitely need a magic switch to entangle them. You around 1,200, 300 solo, it stops being feasible to just keep stunning them repeatedly with Soul Strike and just damaging them with basics. You do of course have your T70 with Necro, but again, you're using a lot of adrenaline, you're dealing a lot of damage, um, and I just wouldn't advise it because you need that damage outside of Infernus. Again, in this situation, my partner was using magic, so I didn't have to really worry about that, but that is something that just kind of a luxury in my situation. Something you'll see often with other RuneScapers is they want to follow a specific mechanic order, and by that I mean a specific deal a specific amount of damage, so that at each pad, Zamorak is doing a specific mechanic right as you, rather you're phasing Zamorak right after a specific mechanic. We didn't do that at all. My guy Fire Talos, he did not care about that whatsoever. Here's a good spot to point out though, with the Chaos Blast, we did do a little bit of a switch here. He wanted me as base to immort step him, and then he would heal me. Usually in my attempts I had been doing the opposite, where my partner, DPS or Witch Roll, was actually the one immortcepting me. That way it was allowing my Hellhound to survive longer, but in those situations I was still, if we weren't fast enough, I would eventually lose my Hellhound, just because there would come times where like their immort wouldn't be off cooldown and I had to do that. So my Hellhound would basically take the hit and die, especially on later phases. That became a problem. Here, despite me doing the immortcepting, we were quick enough with Fire Talos' DPS that I didn't need a second Hellhound pouch in my inventory. Actually, I'm sorry, I think I might have brought one before this happened.
Feel the rage of a god!
There's also Infernus, great place to just build up if you are like needing a breather because it's intense, or you just need to build up some adrenaline so you can pump out damage when you get out. Again, didn't really matter in our situation because we weren't following a specific mechanic order. At this point, 3 hours in, I had already known, what comes next at what point, so it wasn't a surprise, but it also was a bit of a learning curve from moving away from 2, 4, 3, 1, 6, 5 as the pad order.
I will tear you asunder!
Now again, I say this was probably the Jankest kill, just because, again, no voice chat. We did this with like minimal attempts. 3 hours isn't that crazy, especially when you had never done Zamorak with the person before. And on top of that, it is a 4K attempt, so pretty intense. So I was actually wrong here. It does look like I did lose my Hellhound right there on pad 6, which would have been phase 4. And so I guess I did the rest of the kill without a Hellhound. Again, not that shocking if you have somebody who's just very cracked with the DPS helping you along. Also, since we're doing pad 1 last, I am not going too crazy with the hits on me.
You're already dead.
Something to keep in mind here, especially if you're doing Necro, at certain points in the circle, you actually have to be 2 tiles out of it. Like right there where I'm at, I'm not getting hit, and yet I am right on the circle. In other spots, I would be taking damage from the Chaos Rune, despite being 1 tile further back. If you're ever taking too much damage, you can also remember that I believe after pad 6, you can in fact get closer to the Sword of Edicts in the center there, where you see the green spark that's going off, and that reduces damage temporarily for a few seconds, and it happens it refreshes every like 30 seconds, as long as you're standing near it. Again, here it wasn't really much of a concern for me just because, um, I mean, we had the DPS there. I wasn't too worried about dodging or trying to survive.
Heed my call!
Also nice here because at the end there, while he's in Infernus, I can just res heal, throw out some defensives, and not worry about twin shot swiping that. Good point for me to anticipate, throw out a defensive, clear the bomb off the pad, in which time he's going to come back, and we're going to start charging. I also don't want to really delay with charging the pads. It's not particularly a good idea. Here I forgot the freedom. There we go. Got the living death off. Straight into Chaos Rune. And if I remember correctly, I think here I actually did take the hit, or rather did take the smoke. And even though I had adrenaline and was fine, vacated and just throw out a defensive, basically survive it, he did in fact intercept me, or I'm sorry, I believe he definitely intercepted me. I'm not sure what defensive he used, but he wasn't sure I was getting it now, as you can see right there. Oh, sorry, no, he got the smoke and I got the smoke, but you'll see over here that he did in fact intercept me after I already barricaded myself, so I didn't take any damage. He was fine as well. We just had a bit more to go before we phase into phase 7. A lot of messing up, again, that's why it's the world's Jankest according to me, and until further evidence is presented, that's what I'm sticking with. As you'll see also on phase 7. But that's usually what happens when you have a lack of verbal communication as to what exactly you want to do. Again, all of this stuff I'm mentioning is just from previous attempts. What happened? What was said in chat? For some reason, I had to check my grimoire. I'm not sure why I was doubting that it was on, but I did turn it off and then turned it right back on. And now we're going into that final push here. I usually like to resummon. Here I didn't, but I like to resummon my conjures, get their commands off. Again, just not a concern at this enrage with this specific person for me, because I know our damage is going to be good either way. And I'm just kind of, I am basing, but partially I am just along for the ride. That smoke does love to turn back quite a bit, so it is hard to dodge sometimes, but try and dive through it. Use Anticipate and Freedom. Here, obviously, if you're not already praying Protect from Magic, important to switch to that. Have your buddy entangle or you entangle and start building up. I usually go invoke Deathmark, then Soul Sap, summon my conjures, take it from there. Immediately after the 2 magic hits from Zammy, switch to Protect from Melee, kill the first rune. There I already immorted, so we can do a 2 cycle successfully, because that will last you, and I can build up now on Zammy. I didn't help him with the second rune just because he wanted to do that by himself. I decided to get behind Zammy so that we're not sharing any damage from the bombs. Obviously, go ahead and devo there, reflect, put on my spirit shield, fit pot, and we're good to go. I get drained, obviously, of all my prayer points, so I have to bring something back up, which I didn't hear. I'm not worrying about a Dren here, so I'm just flowing through it. Obviously, back to Protect from Melee. Now here, pretty simple. My Immort would have saved me. Again, Fire Telos did end up intercepting me. Unnecessary, but much appreciated. Again, a lot going on, but if you do Immort, you have time, even at 4K, to build up to a point where you're not worrying about adrenaline, you can just burst him, but keep just enough adrenaline for like another resonance or something, just because those bombs do hit hard. And of course, he told me to hold. I said okay, so I went out to Zammy, told him I'm ready, and immediately went into Split Soul because I had assumed that when he said okay, he meant that he's building up and he's gonna kill the second rune. And then of course I had to switch to Protect from melee for the Devotion, for the melee slam, and just burst him again. At this point, there was no sense in switching back the Split Soul because it had already worn out. Because again, stupid me, I had Split Souled way too early, which he mentions here at the end. But ultimately, we did get the kill.